Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, March 20th, 2016. And I haven't had any of those little weird flickering things today, so crossing fingers, it's not a like dying video card or anything like that. I don't suck. But yeah, let's get back into the game. Hasn't happened since I rebooted. It happened after I stopped streaming, I believe, though, before I rebooted. So it might be OBS, but it might be. It sounds like it's something else. Maybe video card drivers, because I mean, NVIDIA has had a bit of a hard time with them lately. Yep. Hello, there we are. So this is currently the enemy spawn. This is currently, well, that's currently player 2 spawn. This is currently player 1 spawn. It's possible that the player could end up having them both, or the AI could have them both, or it could be AI versus AI, or whatever. We'll need to figure out, as I was talking about last time, how we want to do multiple players in the same team. The one that kind of stuck with me, like, directly is have them all associated with the spawn point as normal. That's on the back end I'm not talking about. But in game, if you have multiple players in the same team, have the pieces be the same color, but have some sort of void or something over the top of their head that identifies which one belongs to which player. And then if the player owns multiple spawn points, they would all have the same void, but you know. And maybe that void could have the player name. Things like that. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. It's not something we have to worry about right now, but it's something we should think about right now. Especially since it might end up changing user interface a bit. Anyway. So if we launch into the game through the launch at a test level through the interface, we can then assign player to wherever we want. So we'll make actually player be at the far one, and we'll make them be team 2, so they'll have a silver piece. There we are. And of course it's facing the wrong direction, because why wouldn't it? Currently can't do anything with these pieces yet, but that's okay. But it spawns in the right place, so it lets us know that our code knows what it's doing at least. And if you're wondering why it's not balanced or whatever, because the units are the same, that's not the point right now. Matter of fact, technically they'd both be losing because there's no king. But anyway. At some point we're going to need to fix, as I said, the camera spawn, which would involve fixing the what was I going to say? Involve fixing the player controller, is what I was trying to say. But we're not going to do that just yet. So this should be it. When the piece is clicked, we call the tile clicked method of the tile we're on. So that way we have a single... Actually, I don't even know why we do that. Hi, welcome to the chat. In case you just missed it, we are developing a chess-style game. We're technically redeveloping part of it because it was based off Game Jam idea, whose code was terrible. Let's give player one. Let's give the player spawn gold spawn right now. There we are. I can't really select anything yet, but that's okay. Yeah, okay. As a matter of fact, let's actually change this around so that way on the tile we'll have a function that void tile. Sorry, void tile activity, tile action on tile interact. Sure, why not? Let's call it that. And then here, instead of doing this, we'll have location on tile interact. I believe that's what I called it. And then in the tile function, quick actions, come on. So it should be in the tile CPP now. There we are. Tile interact, there we are. So tile unclicked, we'll call it be on tile interact. I'm not exactly sure why I use view gameplay stacks to get game mode when I believe get game mode should be on all the No. I thought get game mode was on all actors. Apparently it's not. Apparently you need to use gameplay stacks for that. Actually, I explained why I then attached, in the first version, I attached a pointer to the game mode on all objects. That was such a hacky thing to do. I mean, it seemed to be safe, but the reason why it seemed to be safe is because I just added the pointer and kept calling it and kept waiting for it to crash. It never did. I'm like, okay, maybe it just doesn't get garbage collected ever. Maybe it always stays with the, you know, maybe the game mode does never rotate or anything like that. But if the game, for some reason, decides, hey, let's move the game mode to a different memory location, I'd be broken. It'd just be screwed. It would just break, right? It doesn't never do that. Unless I already accounted for it and I'm forgetting. So now on tile interacts is where we're going to have our... One second. So it's going to be where we have our state, which doesn't actually do anything itself, per se. It just sends a signal to whatever it needs to do it. Probably at this point it'd be game mode, but I'm not quite sure. And we were thinking about this when we way when we started the relaunch, back in February. Yeah, February. Whether we want to have this be whether we want to have it be a the game mode that does it, or a component that adds into the game mode that takes care of all that stuff. And this is kind of one of the problems. People kind of rail on object-oriented programming. It's very popular in academic because it's fairly easy to teach. It's simple to think like, hey, this is an object. It has properties. It has methods. It has, you know, it's either data like its shape, how much it can hold, what color it is, or it's code. It's stuff that it can do. Either you can drink from it, or you can clip it on something, you can pick it up. So it's one of the two, and that's how objects work in the real world, right? The problem is that you now have to interface with everything else, right? And that tends to be where it breaks down, is you can't really get a good clean hierarchy of things. You're going to end up having to make exceptions or deal with cases that occur after your definition or whatever. And object-oriented really breaks down, then it becomes a big mess, because it's like, well, okay, you're going to overload functions. Why would you have it there when you can just have another function off somewhere else, and you say, like, here's my data, and come back out with your translation, whatever you want. But that's really all programming is translating data around. Either you're translating, you know, mouse and keyboard into video and audio, network communications, things like that, right? So, yeah, and this is where it tends to get a problem, because you now have to think of, okay, so if you are in an object-oriented paradigm, it makes sense in some cases, like, I have a gun. A gun has basic functions. And then I can have a specific gun, either automatic, or you can have a type of gun, either automatic, semi-automatic, shotgun, whatever, and they can have their own properties, and then you can branch out from them. So if you do have if your code does end up falling in a hierarchy, it works pretty well. It's just when you have those, they call them cross cases, or some people call cross cases at least, or whatever, cross-cutting issue or whatever. Yeah, I'm not an expert in those fields. Let's say. Try not to undersell and oversell at the same time. Yeah. Whatever. Basically, you probably won't see me doing a talk at C++Con for a little while. I'm not, like, you know, there. It's even worse. I should just stop talking. Back to the back to the stream. Wow. Anyway, so so what we're trying to do here is figure out what this should all happen. And before, we had our interactions just all over the place. The piece did some of it. The tile did some other stuff of it. The turn manager did some of it. The AI code did some of it for AI, and it was just all over the place, and that was causing bugs, like the queen being like, hey, my best move is to despawn. No, your best move is not to despawn. I don't know where you're going, right? Yeah, if you can have it all in one spot, that's good, but then the question is, what's that spot, right? So, yeah. So, on tile interact. So, what we're going to have is something, probably going to be the game mode, will control whose turn it is. That player is able to have full access of all the controls, according to the game mode, and the problems like that. I'm trying to say, like, if, for example, one team has a feature that the other team doesn't, they don't have access to the other team's feature, of course, because, yeah, duh, right? But yeah, so there'll be one player that's playing, and all the rest will be spectating. I don't lock out all of those cameras. I may force them to look at some things in some way. Maybe through picture-in-picture, maybe through like actually moving their camera around. I'm not sure what would make most sense yet. Because if you make the player's camera jump around, that'll just be nauseating. But if you don't tell them what the opponent did, then they have to search the map hunting to see what changed, right? You need to make it very, very clear without, you know, while still letting the player look at what they really want to. Chances are it's going to be whatever happened. Since it's turn-based, there's only one thing can happen at any given time. But maybe not, and you need to kind of think about that sort of stuff. But anyway, so the non-players can adjust their camera as necessary based on whatever functionality I provide for that, as I've just been saying. But the one is going to be authoritarians. Now we need to have, or one's going to be the player. So now what we have to do is in the game mode have the turn code. So decide who is the unlocked player and make sure everyone else is unlocked. One interesting way of doing that would be to have a well, a series of like probably one enumerator and one one or two integers that you would loop through. And again, that has to compensate for how we want the game to work. Probably if it's like 3-on-2 or whatever, what we'd want to have is that teams are always alternating, so that it's one turn for team 1, one turn for T2, one turn from team 1, one turn from T2. But within the team, they would increment there. So it would be player 1 from team 1, player 1 from team 2, player 2 from team 1, player 2 from team 2, player 3 from team 1. There's no third player, so player 1 from team 2, player 1 from team 1, player 2 from team 2, player 2 from team 1, player 1 from team 2, player 3 from team 1, player 2 from team 2, back and forth, right? But what you yeah, so that seems like it'd be fair, since what you ultimately want is for each team to have the same number of moves. But then you also run into the problem of beating, where it's like or mismatching, like beating isn't like music's like boom boom boom, right, where you have two mismatch frequencies. So there's either that option or the other option, because you could have, you know, if you have two battles from 3 players, the one that has the double is going to have an easier time because they can move more on their side than the other person can. Or the one that has an extra player is going to have a worse time because each player will have... It's hard to say, really, but... It's hard to tell actually who would have the advantage. Would be the one that doubles, or the opposite one on the other team, right? So it would be like, if you have... I'll use Photoshop for this. I think this is actually probably better for that. So 1 second, I'll open up Photoshop. Should be good. New document type, US paper. Good, sure, why not? Okay. Well, my pen's not really calibrated again. Okay. So if you have, for example, A, B, C, and then you have Hey, welcome to the chat. By the way, you can talk about whatever you want in the chat. This is completely open. A lot of people say like, "Oh, I don't want to, hold you back. I don't want to make you not do work or whatever." The point of the stream is to have a chat, right? So say whatever you guys want to say, and I'll interact. That's the point of this, right? The point's the stream, not so much the game, even though the game obviously has a point. So Team Red has 3. Team 2 has Team Blue has 2. And there is going to be work. I'll show you in just a second, but I'm just going to get through this concept first, especially for YouTube people. Now, let's say there is 2 battles going on. Where red and blue are confronting. It's hard to tell who would have the advantage, because here each player would play slightly more frequently, which means that one of these players in the team with more players will have slightly fewer turns on their battle than the opponent will, but the other team will have slightly more. So yeah, so there's 2 options for that. As I was saying earlier, we can each turn rotate teams and do cycle. So A, B, B, C, A, B, B, A, C, B, A, and rotate back and forth like that. Or what we could do is we could have red and blue, and each turn somehow let each of the players decide who gets the turn for that. That could be a problem, especially for pub play. But for competitive, you'd think it'd be better, because if you want to have either your star player or have a player with a more tactical advantage, like let's say this guy is fighting over a special square or the actual objective themselves, and these guys are just kind of skirmishing in the middle of nowhere, you might want these guys to have more turns in the other one, right? One possibility is that we do this thing I was saying earlier about AA, BB, CA, AB, BA, CB, AA, whatever. But allow the players to skip. But not skip the team, just skip their own turn. And if all players skip, then the turn moves over, right? That seems like probably the best option. Then, of course, what happens in the next turn after that? Do we start from that order, or do we start with a person who started skipping? So if it's like A skips, B plays, B, is it now B's turn? Or is it A again? Or actually, let's go the other way. So A skips, so B plays A. And then B plays, but since A skipped, is it now C? Or is it A again? Right? And then when we skip, do we skip over B and do to C, right? That could have 2, well, that would actually be really bad, because that would have 2 players constantly swapping turns between it. It seems so confusing. Okay, yeah. You kind of came into the conversation midway, so I'll show you what we're working on right now. So the game is called Check It. This is a placeholder UI. Oops. So keep that in mind. We're trying to think of the turn mechanics for multiple players. Before it was 1 versus AI, we didn't have to think about that. But now we have that. So if we have player on team 1, AI on team 2, we launch. Just thinking of how these turn mechanics will actually work up, right? I'm thinking right now the one we should start off with is each team plays only once, of course, and that flops back and forth. So if you have 4 teams, that even gets more. So one like regular chess, it's not 1 versus 1. It could be however many versus however many. It could be 10 teams of 1. It could be 5 teams of 2. Maybe even more for that. I don't know. I can't really think of an upper limit technologically. It's just whatever's fun. And whatever the map supports. If the map only supports 4 players, you're not going to fit a 5th person on there unless they're a spectator. But you can give 1 player multiple spawns. Anyway, it's not important. So I'm thinking that the teams will flop. So team 1, then team 2, then team 3, then team 4, or whatever. Then back team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, and so however many teams are active. And each individual player will then be incremented, but each individual player is allowed to skip their turn. It will not skip the team unless all players do a skip. I'm gonna allow players to just not move any piece. I'm thinking the best way of doing that would be having, as I just said, if every player on a team does a skip, then it skips to the next team, because no one player will play, and that's it, right? But if that's not the case, then it will be the person after the person who played will be the one next round. So, yeah, let's consider that. In case you're wondering about the game, I'll show you the old version we were working on from 2014 through to 2015. Package targets, check it. And I'll show you sort of what a actual level would look like. Not a test level, but an actual level would look like sort of being built up. This is a chessboard level, just for the hell of it. But open cross streams. Here. This would be what an actual level would look like. Once it's cleaned up, obviously the geometry is kind of messed up and the light maps are screwed up here, but you know. So you can move forward and take positions inside the town, of which there'd be buildings, which could hide view and also stuff like that. But you can only move so far away from any one of your kings. So if you have multiple kings, then it adds up. So AI is over here, and players over here. There's no way to get through here, but yeah. So now we're trying to re-implement that in this. And I really need to find someplace that has good HDRI maps. Anyway. So, yeah, before we start on working on tile interact, actually let's check on git shell cd, because I don't think I committed yesterday's work. Yeah, I didn't. Git diff source piece. Okay. Starting to define gameplay. So now in game mode, we will have. Hey, welcome, CR 88192. How's it going? Okay, now I need to think of this. So, yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to have the game mode actually. Oops, not game instance, game mode. Have it. And it makes sense too because it has access to all the tiles and pieces. That's where it stores. Have it handle all of the base movement for individual game modes that will be in the subclasses of base chess game mode, but for the like basic stuff like how a pawn moves or whatever, that'll be on base. Well, how a piece moves, the specifics of each pawn, whatever, will be in the piece. Excuse me. So I don't need this anymore. This is gone. I should look and see if there's any see if there's any more notes that needs to go. I could just get rid of these because I have them here. Yeah, I'll get rid of this note. I still need to fix these. I am going to need to keep this just so I can fix this, basically. But yeah. This will be fixed in a while. I'll leave these notes here, otherwise it's good. Okay, so chess battle game mode, good. So now we're gonna have U property, edit anywhere, blueprints, read write, category equals check it settings. Int32 current, or I don't like using current because I do that for temporary variables and I don't want to confuse myself. So what would be a good name for the team and the player that is authoritative right now? Like that is the unlocked, right? I could say unlocked player, but could be turn team, but or team turn, then player turn. Actually, let's do prefix with turn. So turn team. And then copy these. Let's check something first. Okie dokie. There we are. Turn player. And so what was it again? It was we need the current team, the current player, and the enumerator, the turn state. So you property edit anywhere, blueprint, read write, category. Cool, let's check it settings. Now, do we want the enumerator to be on this, or do we want it to be on the check it types? We'll have it in check it types, sure, why not? So instead of ePlayer type, we'll have it be turn state. And we will have it be let's do unselected. Because this will define what the player is allowed to do. Yeah, let's do unselected. Piece selected. Move selected. And that'll be this way for now. We're going to change it over time. But I'm trying to think of a way that I can, like the minimum amount, well not minimum, the amount of states that's required for a turn to take place. That would require different controls. So if I click on a piece, and I have a piece selected, does that even make sense? Or would it make sense to actually just store the state of whatever I'm doing? Yeah, let's not do this. Let's not do turn state. Because again, it's not a good idea to have state in your game, because then you're just asking for desynchronization, right? If for some reason some chunk of your code doesn't update all of the possible states, then it's bad, right? You're just gonna end up wasting you're just gonna end up it's hard to think with music in your ear. You're just going to end up with potential mismatches if you could have just derived the information you needed from the other state you're already storing, and you have to store. Because you have to store some state. You're not going to have a completely stateless program, otherwise you don't have a program, right? You need to have something in memory. Even the program itself has to be in memory in order for something to function, right? But the question is, how much do you have? If you're storing 5 not mutually exclusive ways of like things, then if 1 and 4 don't interact in a sensible way, then you're gonna have a bug, right? So this is really hard to explain. Hey, you know what? Let's do that. So we'll have class A piece. Bit flags. What do you mean by that, CR? And I also don't know what you want me to... Like, if I were to say your name, your nickname out loud, how would you want it pronounced? No, he never thought of that. Okay. Well, yeah, so what do you mean, actually, piece of class of? Okay, but so yeah, what do you mean by bit flags? Okay, so what you mean? Yeah, that's not what I mean by that. CR says define foo A1, define foo C16, and then do bitwise comparisons to pull out. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to the actual performance of it, because it's a turn-based game, right? We don't have to care about a comparison being as memory efficient or whatever as we want, because we have a long time between, especially when a lot of the logic will run on a separate thread. We have a lot of playroom when it comes to time. We just don't care. The question is, for bug's sake, do I need to store whether we are in a state, like whether we are in a, do I need to store both the piece the player selects and the fact that the player has selected the piece? It seems kind of, if this is null, then it's good, right? On the other hand, it would condense the information to something that's easier for other chunks to ingest, versus doing a null check on a piece over in game mode somewhere and be like, oh, I guess that they are selecting something somehow. Maybe it was selected for them, I don't know, right? But then you'll have, if those mismatch, and you'll have the issue, like if you, some programs you click on something and it does something, and you click on what you're supposed to happen, nothing happens, and it's like, okay, click on it, oh, it started working again. It's like if some state has been either activated or replicated, but others hasn't been, then you have these awkward things of you have part of your program updated, the other program hasn't lagged behind, so you have to do the action again to get the other program to lag up to the first, to catch up to the first one, and then you can move forward. Things like that, little weird bugs like that. Whereas if you just have one state, and you always pull from that one state, no matter how ugly that could be, no matter how much you have to convert it to get to whatever you want, then you know there's not going to be a mismatch bug. There's only one source of data, right? If that's not up to date, then your program's dead, right? You have a bigger problem if the one source of information is not up to date, because there's nothing to be out of date from. Your program's just broken, right? But then you get into the problems of whatever state you do store. What if you don't translate that properly? Like, what if you have a tile selected and a piece selected because you have to have them both at one time? Well, if the code looking through is being like, what state am I in? What can the player do? If you have both those options, it'll be like, well, crap, I don't know. Do I need to manipulate the tile because that's been selected, or do I need to manipulate the piece because it's been selected as well, right? I mean, there's a right way of there's a right answer to it, but it's not necessarily immediately obvious depending on how things are set up. So it's these little weird things you have to think about. And people who are better than me would have no problem thinking of it. Does it have to be? I'm not sure if T subclass allows pointers or not. So let's see, UE4 T subclass. So let's look again. Okay, so it's not a pointer. Well, it's implied pointer. Yeah, okay, so it's not a pointer here. Current game state, or current state of turns. Add stuff for whether cards been played. But we're not gonna deal with power-up cards or something like that right now. We'll add that on later on. So now we have the turn, and every day. No, just kidding. Okay, so void. Do we want to make it a virtual function so it can be overridden? Let's make it a virtual function, why not? Virtual void, end turn, virtual void, skip, player. Okay, so let's quick actions, create definition, I don't know why I don't rely on that more. Actually, I know why I didn't rely on that more. I used to be very slow. For some reason, it's getting a bit faster, which is interesting. Kind of nice, honestly. Ends the turn for the team. Ends the turn for the individual player. Skips the turn to another player on team. If all players skip, team forfeits their turn. Whole team skips their turn. And you have to think about these sort of things too, like if I were to implement that such that it would allow the next person to do it, that could be griefed, where you have two players constantly passing back to each other. Especially if they're trying to make their team lose, they can constantly make stupid moves back and forth, and the third player would be like, come on, guys. And eventually just die because they don't ever play, right? This one forces them to always play the extra one. So a skip only hurts himself, or helps himself. Want to do a strictly round robin? We talked about that just a little bit ago. The problem is if you end up having mismatched teams like this, where you have 3-on-2, and there's two confrontations. Let's say these two are fighting in this battleground, this is fighting this battleground, and this one's fighting here, and this one's fighting there. This confrontation will give red team twice as many moves as the blue team has, whereas this confrontation will give red team only 2/3. Is that right? I think only 2/3 of the number of moves they have. And I kind of balance out a little bit, but you want to have some way of allowing players to choose what battles they want to fight, right? So if there's 3-on-2 and you have and they're geographically dispersed throughout the level, you want the team to collectively choose where they can defend. And if one player only controls one fraction of the army, they can't. They can only control their fraction. If that fraction's not where the team wants to operate right now, there should be a mechanism for that allowed. And I think that the best way for that, for most situations that we can think of right now, is for that player being like, listen, I don't have anything to do with this. I'm going to forfeit my turn. Let the next player in the queue do whatever they need to, right? Because I'm just in the middle of nowhere, or I'm holding a catapult, or I'm doing something over here I don't need to actually move. But these people over there, they're going to be screwed if they don't move, right? So that could be cool. Oh, and then we also have to think as well of whether we want a player with multiple spawns to have multiple turns or not. I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say probably once the game has been started, all of those spawns will be combined into a single play pool. it may be of pieces. It may be interesting to keep them separate because I mean we'll have the data on it. The piece will know what spawn it came from. So it might be interesting to, as an option, allow a player to manage 2 spawns independently. I don't know. So yeah, why not strictly round robin? Basically for balance. In the event that there's an odd number of teams, or otherwise any given player that's the current player is not in the place the team wants to actually focus on. So it'd just be wasting a turn, giving the opponent team an extra turn, which is bad. We want to prevent that, so we want to allow the team to skip if they need to. The other option would be to allow players to each turn vote for who to go, but that can be annoying, especially for a pub game. Trying to get people to vote for anyone but themselves or whatever is not gonna, or if they have a friend, then it would be always, no, that'd be gross, right? That'd be not gross. That'd be difficult and annoying for the player. Not even for me, for the player. Okay. So now we have that. We're going to set turn team and turn player to default of 0. What? Why are you complaining? Oh, over here as well. So, int 32, get number of current players. Int 32, get number of teams. Yeah. So now we'll need to quick actions, create definition. Not sure if that will work correctly. Okay, you got that good. Actually, one thing I'm going to check first is game state. Because game state's going to be the... come on. Is what Unreal Engine uses to... yeah. Or should I have this stuff that I'm putting into game mode right now be on game state? Is that actually my problem, having like this data here? Should that be better on a custom game state? Because then I have to replicate game mode. So let's actually look at that. Does game mode replicate? So let's actually see about that. So UE4 game mode versus game state. Like, yeah. They're very different in a multiplayer game. Okay. Only exists on a server. Only ever exists on a server. Okay, that could be a problem. Just got the email reminder? Okay. I can't really control that. That's all Twitch, right? Welcome now. So we're finding out that what we're doing is kind of bad. We're going to want to have a custom game state. That's a good question. So if you have a custom game state and we have this T array of tiles, of pointers, I should say, to tiles and pointers to pieces, and we replicate that, will it cause issues if the memory map doesn't exactly align properly between clients? Will it remap accordingly? That's an interesting question. I mean, it'd be fine if you're dealing with U-structs that link to these sorts of things, but if you're... Yeah. So it's gonna be a problem if I start dealing with online stuff. That'd be a really major refactor, having to pull everything out of game mode. This sounds like it's gonna be an annoying song I may want to skip. It gives you a headache in the first 10 seconds. Can't really hear the music over stream. Is it there just very, very low, or not playing at all? Because it's saying it's sending out. I just have it potted down a lot. Alright, raise the volume a little bit. Although it's hard for me to hear myself speak when I do that. Very quiet, yeah, okay. I'll try leaving it on this volume for now. Number of players and spectators present, how the player entered the game, whether or not the player can be paused, how pausing the game is handled, and distinguishing between levels, whether or not the game should still be just start in cinematic mode. Actors defines. State of the game including things like a list of connected players or where the pieces are in the game, or a list of what missions you have completed in the open world game. So I'll quickly just check with people from Unreal Engine IRC to see whether it's replicated properly. So I asked, so if I have a list of pointers to actors on game state, will it be replicated correctly such that each client points to the correct point in their own memory? Because again, the problem would be is if I have a list of tiles or a list of pieces on game state, and they're in one memory location in one player, one memory location in another player, and they're pointing, like say, like this replicates off and says, hey, now it's over here, when it's doesn't actually map to the player in question, that could be a problem, right? I mean, really I could just try it and see if it crashes, but that's not, you know. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna need to have a game state now. So in Unreal Engine, we will add a new class. It'll be a subclass of game state. It'll be base game state. It probably will not compile. Because I have a couple functions that are set to return in 32s but don't. Oh. Did I delete that? Oh. Oh, apparently IntelliSense decided to return a in 32 type. Okay. So let's look at the Unreal Wiki for code samples. Okay. Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, I know much about Unreal. My experience is mostly with the custom engines like Quake 1, 2, 3, yeah. So I'm thinking actually, the problem is not that the problem is this doesn't actually belong in either the game mode or the game state. I should have something else be authoritative for it. I can have it be on the game instance because I already have that, but the thing game instance is not replicated as per client. New game instance. Hello manager of instance of running game. Spawn game creation as running game shut down. There'll be one of these. One per PIE instance. Yeah, it sounds like that actually might be what I want to do. Okie dokie. And really part is because I'm trying to have this be done with as little or should I just have my own object that I just manage myself? Because the advantage of game mode is that so does game mode really not exist in the clients? Should exist in the clients. I think I'm mostly confusing myself. I think it's stuff I already know, I'm just not realizing it. Okay, so they're telling me I see an image in the channel, but I'm not sure what it is. Okay. Okay, so that works. Yeah. Yeah, you can see how this can be a bit confusing. To not just, I mean, we're not trying to think of a way to make it work. We can make it work, no problem. But the problem is when we add a new feature, how much work we have to do to make that work versus just doing it right now, but what's right. That's the problem when you're learning a new engine or learning new things like that. I'm going to see if for some reason I can raise my volume. This is getting a bit annoying. There we are. Hello. Properties, listen. Levels. Should be maxed. Is this maxed too? Hello? Oh, that's better. Okay. Yeah. There we are. Because I mean, like, I can make my own object that stores data I want, and I can control whether it's replicated or not, and that's fine. I can just spawn it whenever, doing whatever, right? But then I'm kind of at the mercy of it, right? If I want to find it, I have to query it. It's much easier to use a built-in functions that are in all the base actors in actor.h, right? Or whatever else Epic does. So anyway, this is going to be clearly in the player state, because this is on game mode. This only is on the server. Well, this will have to be on the server too. So, yeah, looking at this structure, we're going to need to have yeah, so probably we actually want to have the game mode itself in the server. Know which turn, team, player, and whatever. Not selected piece, though. This would be kind of silly. But know which turn and play or team and player is selected, and have this control. Does that make sense? Have this control that. Same to the server and all clients and replicate freely. Keep machines up to date. Actually, the game state would want to know that. How does game mode interact with game state? Actually, maybe we want to just take a second here to open GitHub and look at Unreal Tournament. And then copy pass or username. There we are. Sign in. So now we have this. We can look at Unreal Tournament. and see how they do it. Public. We want private actually. Public actually. Let's see right now. UT game state, UT game mode. And we'll see what each of these do. I'll raise the font size for y'all. The game state has a server name, the server message of the day, because of course it does. Server description. List of teams. Let's see what game mode it has. Can everyone hear me okay over the music? That's one thing that's kind of good for me to do, is whenever I see a feature in the Unreal Engine I'm not quite sure about. Still a lot louder than music? Okay, cool. When there's a feature in Unreal Engine I'm not quite sure about, I try to look at it in a sample of some sort. Unreal Tournament's actually a really good sample, because it's essentially a AAA game that's completely open source. Not really open source in the traditional sense, but completely open to under EULA to the people, and you can see what it does, right? And also they cache reference to their game state in game mode too, like I used to. Well, I used to do that for game mode in the turn manager, but you know. What the casting control does? Oh, okay. So these are little game mode changes, of course. So this is where, I guess you ask the server for various queries and stuff like that. Start match, end match, plan of match message.
Can't try to forget that you were here. Some part of me wants to disappear with you. My soul and all that I could afford. So only gonna fall into what you explore.
Earlier today I made a beef and barley soup to, ever have the keg spice? It's stuff you put on steak and you barbecue. It tastes amazing, but pretty spicy, but it's good. I mean, that's why you have it, it's right. Well, I cut the roast into cubes and I wrapped them, like I kind of rolled them all into the cake spice. Over all of those pieces, it was pretty spicy, because not only did you have whatever stuck to all the pieces on all four sides in small cubes, but you also had whatever's left over as well. So now we're gonna have to dilute the soup. It's just too spicy. Better than top ramen, yeah. No, but I mean, it's spicy. The amount we needed for each cube summed up, and there's just no way you can eat it without adding water to it. It's not. It's just. I mean, I can, but I used to eat raw jalapenos. But feeling that it's just way too spicy. The reason why I say that is because I just had a you know, sometimes when you have like a lot of pepper or something, there's a little grain that's stuck in your tooth or whatever, and it dislodges and then makes your eyes water or whatever. Similar thing happened for me just right now. Okay, so this is all stuff that's done on like a server, as it would assume. So we're gonna need this. We're gonna need that on GameMode. That's correct. But the level tiles and level pieces. Shouldn't be necessary. Let's actually keep looking here, see if they have any similar tricks they're doing. We're actually almost at the end. Okay, so they do have a couple of well, they're not pointers, they're structs. Let's see here, let's do a find in file. Here a default inventory, that's fine. Built-in new favorite, it's fine. Configured favorite, it's fine. Reportation, it's fine. Bought assets. Okay, so they're doing some things like that here. Okay. Yeah, so what I'm doing right here, is similar to what I'm doing right here. So this is gonna be fine. I just need to not use this outside of game mode. I need to have another set of that for each player. Which again kind of sucks. You don't want to have things separate, but yeah. Depending, of course, on how high performance this ends up being. Or how low performance, I mean. Okay. Right, so there's that. Now we have to do base game state. Let's similar. We'll actually add definition. Declaration, sorry, not definition. I think at least, yeah. I don't know. Sure, why not? Should be it, right? Yeah, okay. So yeah, we're probably going to be spending the next couple of days decoupling and sorting the information we need into the various bins. And from there, we'll be able to have a good setup of selecting the piece that we need and then determining what tiles it can move and things like that. Let's see if we want to do that from the from here. Is calculating the potential tile something we want to do on the server or on the client? Probably server, right? Yeah. Let's actually see here. Blueprints, authority only. Oh, okay, cool. So let's do UE4 replication. Epic Wiki. Property replication rule. Only changes made to replicated properties in the server will be replicated to clients. If the client changes the value of a replicated value locally, it'll stay that way until the next time the server changes it. After it should be replicated on the you should consider U property to be that's tagged with replicated to be owned, controlled by a server, which would probably mean that we'd want to have it change in game mode or the server's authoritative game state. And for every client, consider that whatever it is can change at any time. It's funny when you start having all these holes you need to kind of in your, like, knowledge to fill. So game mode, get number of players, get number of teams. That's right. For that, I'd want to return. Or would that be game state? Because the game mode has a game state too. So again, let's look back at Unreal Tournament again. They do store quite a bit of data. Hey, welcome back. Yeah, I'll store that in game mode. That'll be safe. And again, it's possible to do things yourself and just override everything, but then you can run into issues. It's better to just kind of do what Epic wants you to do. Like, I can make my own turn manager like I did the first time, and that would physically work. But then I have to worry about replicating it properly and dealing with the bugs from shared state and all that crap, right? Okay, so I'll keep turn team and turn player, because these are in a turn-based strategy who is authoritative. The game mode should adjust that, so therefore it should be fine. End turn skip player, those are server commands. So they will need to be on game mode. Yeah. The question is, what information would I need for the client to properly render, right? Yeah. Which is not a lot, actually. The problem is thinking of how much is required, which is not a lot. Yeah, it's a good advice and a way for me to think of it in a different way, but it's... yeah. Yeah, thanks. It's funny, it's one of those things where it's like, that's what I was thinking of, and it's like, actually, that is what I'm thinking of from the other direction. And that's a very useful direction, thank you. But what I thought of it from that direction from the past have been fine, right? Yeah. Basically, it was like, yeah, but I'm not sure if I need it to render. I don't. Okay, it's problem solved, right? Okay. So selected piece I don't need, because that's going to be the client, what the client's doing. And all I need is a client to tell the server, this is what I want to propose, you know, like this is the move I want to do. I want to move the pawn from here to here. I don't need to have the state of being like, okay, the client pressed on the pawn, the client pressed on the, you know, that can all be on the pawn side. Well, can't... I mean, we're thinking of situations where the game's already bugged out, and how to revive it, but, like, let's say the client says, I want to move to these tiles, and the server says you can't move there. Where should I do the calculation? Should I have, you know, I want to select here, the server says, okay, here's your possible moves, and responds that. That's a lot of network communication. However, it's also turn-based strategy, so who cares? Yeah, so I can actually make a use struct that says possible for each possible move, and I'll just send the array of use structs. Because I mean, if we only have like 40 possible moves, which is actually a lot, that'd be basically the queen going in any direction. Actually, that'd be closer to 60, 70, but anyway. Because the queen can move 8 spaces, the maximum in any given direction. Anyway. If it's like right next to the king. Anyway, well, not right next to, like, kind of off to the L, but anyway. Yeah, okay, I can do that. I can have a struct that would be possible moves, and have the client, like, have the server calculate that, but have the client parse that into the user interface of highlight this tile, highlight that tile, and that would be not shared. That would be less shared state, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's start with that. Let's go to check it types. You struck blueprint type. Struck F possible move. I know I'm not exactly doing these in the most sensible order, but I'm also not doing this in a completely unsensible order either too, so. U property, let's have it be permissive. Why not? Okay, so f int vect, f int vector position. And this can change over time based on the number of types of moves I have. But right now I'm just going to think of a certain type of move. So unknown move eat to do can potentially extend later for things like triggers, objectives, etc. But for now, just move and eat. Or unknown, just for a failsafe or default state. And we'll have U property, edit anywhere, print, read, write, category equals check it settings. Emove type T enum as byte, emove type. And have it be destinations, I should say. Which will probably kind of divorce of any meaning from what the piece is, but yeah. It'll probably end up being in the structure of I want to know everything the piece can do, the queen can do, and the game mode saying, here's your list of possible moves. I can see that traffic getting kind of, oh, let's see. So let's say here fn vector is probably, oh, be quiet. Let's say it's so it's 32-bit times 4. Let's say if it packs it in such a way, so 32 times 4, so 128. Then we add this will be a 64-bit value. Actually, no. Let's pretend it's doing 64-bit values for 32 and 32. It really shouldn't, but anyway. So, but worst case scenario, so 256. That's 256 bit plus a 64-bit value for the enumerator. Which it shouldn't. It should be able to just pack the structure tighter than that, but I don't know, right? So, worst case scenario is 320 bits divided by 8 for bytes, so 40 bytes. Now if we have a list of 40 of them, that is 1.6 kilobytes. To send that over a network connection is basically nothing. So that should be fine. So even if we have, well, then we have to do a lot of them, that could be a problem. Plus all the header and all that sort of stuff too, right? But, so I said moves as bitmaps with 1 bit per tile, then maybe RLE compressed bitmap. I can't see how that would help, because you're always going to get a higher throughput on a sparse array as long as you use, I think it's less than a third. So as long as the map, you cover less than a third of the map, it should always be cheaper just to give an array of 1D values. Now you say, well, okay, then you're saying if it's 1 bit per tile, you can then use less data per tile as opposed to having 40 bits, or sorry, 40 bytes per move, you're using 1 bit, so it's a, like, $40 times 8, wow, I'm completely losing my... You're talking about like a 320 to 1 compression. Then you could do LZ on top of that, but that would be probably excessive. Especially since I don't think that, well, I don't know, does that Unreal Engine have any compression? But then you also lose the ability to define what you can do. So if I do want to later on have it extended and have the move type be like card, like you can play the card here there, although I would probably just have a different setup for cards. I mean, I could also have it be client side, have the client send and validate back. So instead of sending, that wouldn't help anyway. Congratulations, Scott. All you've successfully done was convert download bandwidth to upload bandwidth, which is even more constrained usually. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have this for now. Oh, it's past midnight. No. I've been at this for over 2 hours. Sorry for the bit of a boring stream today. I was obviously trying to re-understand. Oh, actually, maybe this is more entertaining for people of understanding how Unreal Engine ticks, as I do. Well, as I learn how Unreal Engine ticks, people learn with me, is a proper way of saying it. It's been a long couple days. Let's just say that much. Outside of this, I mean, in general. So this is authoritative. I can query game mode, but it's not replicated anywhere. So this would be performance only. Okay. Okay, no, so we actually get something done. Oh, right, I need also, C#? No, it's C++ actually. It's just Epic, Epic Games, the maker of Unreal Engine, uses macros all over the place uses macros all over the place to simplify things. This is compile. Upsolve evaluate. There. Compile failed the course. Oh, whoops. There we are. So I'll show you what we're working on right now before I call it quits for tonight. We were working, well, this is a previous version of the game. This is a standard chessboard, but it's not the only level. This is the more appropriate demo level. So you have the AI spawn over here, the player spawns over here, and they're trying to siege a castle. And there's more pieces laid around, so they can capture parts of the map to get more pieces. Meanwhile, killing off the opponent piece if it's nearby. To get better position in the map. Meanwhile, the opponent's doing the same, and eventually they have to confront, and one will win. So we're doing that similar right now, but we're making it more general than 1 versus AI, and we're fixing a lot of the crap we had in the background. Still placeholder UI though. This looks ugly. Have them be on team 2, so it'll be silver team. This will make it a lot easier to be gamepad 2. So this is what we're doing. We're trying to re-implement what we did earlier in such a way that's actually good. So right now we're working on what we can do to either click or select with a gamepad, or click on the piece and have it select a tile, so forth, to do inputs to allow the pieces to move. And we're trying to do it in such a way that won't screw over multiplayer, because, well, if we do it and it works for 1 versus AI, then we have to completely flip our code upside down again to make it work for multiplayer, then that's not going to help, right? So that's what we're working on. As a dev, do you recommend AMD or NVIDIA? I wouldn't say I'm exactly that type of dev who would have informed opinion on that sort of stuff. I personally buy NVIDIA, not because I, hate AMD or whatever, but just because that just happens to be on sale or happens to be the best purchase at the time. Or one time I was in university and CUDA was just coming out. I was back in the GeForce 8 era. I would buy it for that because I thought it was kind of interesting and might be useful for what my prof was doing or whatever. But yeah. Not gonna lie, I kind of want to see what the materials are like again. So so put the glow parameter for that. That's something I can think of by code, make it pulse a little bit. Anyway, so, whoops, thanks everyone for sticking around while I kind of go nuts. Hopefully it was entertaining for you. It was definitely informative for me. And hopefully in the next couple days we'll end up having a structure that works sensibly. I will probably do one more stream before Wednesday, so I don't stream on Wednesdays as common. So whether it be Monday or Tuesday, I'm not sure, depending on how things work out. One of those 2 days will be streamed, and that'll be end of the week. So the other day I'll be off, and Wednesday I'll be off, and it'll probably be Thursday or Friday when I start up again. Because I do 5 days between Wednesday to Wednesday, excluding Wednesday. In a few of those days, we'll hopefully get the structure set up, like I said, and we might be able to actually start moving pieces around, in which case we can start working on the fundamental gameplay loops. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Now it's that correct time for the animation, and I screwed up my joke, muting my microphone. Bye.